Hello Year 2, how are you? And welcome to today's maths lesson. Now, in our lesson a couple of days ago, we looked at dividing by 2 and we used two different methods. We used sharing and we also used grouping. So sharing was when we knew how many objects we had and we knew how many groups we had to have, and we had to decide after we've shared them all out how many would be in each group. And then grouping was the opposite. So when we knew how many objects we had, we knew how many had to be in each group. And then we had to work out, after we'd grouped all the objects, how many groups there would be. Well, we're going to be using this method again to help us to divide by 5 today. But before we do, let's warm up our brains with our flashback. So here's your question for today. Divide 12 by 2. So could you use any of those methods to help you with this question? Number 2, Whitney has 57 pennies. She gives Dora 32 pennies. How many pennies does Whitney have left? Number 3, how many spots are there in total? Okay, so could you write a multiplication number sentence to find out the total amount of spots? And number 4, what is 54 subtract 7? So use column subtraction for this. You need to decide if you need to exchange or not. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at your flashback. Okay, Year 2, so let's go through it together. The first question, divide 12 by 2. So we need to think of it as 12 objects, and let's choose sharing as our method. So we have 12 objects and they need to go into 2 groups. We need to share them into 2 groups. So we need to put them in one by one and then find out how many are in each group once we've shared out all of the 12 objects. Okay, now I've already done this. So I had 12 objects and I've put it into 2 groups. Okay, so I've shared them out one by one into the 2 groups. And how many have I got in the first group? Yes, you're right. I've got 6 in the first group and I've got 6 in the second group. So therefore, 12 divided by 2 equals 6. And we can check that on our number line. We can jump up in steps of 2 all the way to 12 and then count how many jumps we've done. And that will give us our answer. Well, let's have a look. The first jump takes us to 2. The second takes us to 4. The third takes us to 6. The fourth takes us to 8. The fifth takes us to 10. And the 6th takes us to 12. So there we go. We've got the answer 6 again. Okay, number 2. Whitney has 57 pennies. She gives Dora 32 pennies. How many pennies does Whitney have left? Okay, so we're working out how many she has left. And if you worked out that you needed to use subtraction, well done, because Whitney is giving Dora some coins. So she's going to then have less coins than she had before. So there you go. Here's our column subtraction. Let's start with the ones. So 7 subtract 2 is 5. And 5 subtract 3 is 2. So there you go. After Whitney gives Dora some pennies, she will have 25 pence left. Okay, number 3. How many spots are there in total? Well, how many ladybirds have we got? Yes, you're right. We've got 3 ladybirds. And how many spots on each? Yes, we've got 5. So we could write the addition number sentence, 5 plus 5 plus 5. Or we could write the multiplication number sentence, 3 multiplied by 5. Or because of commutative law, we could also write 5 multiplied by 3. But let's stick to 3 multiplied by 5 because we know our 5 times table. Are you ready to count up in steps of 5? 3 times. Okay, 5, 10, 15, stop. We've counted 3 steps. And what number did we get to? Yes, we got to 15. Fantastic. So there are 15 spots in total on the 3 ladybirds. Okay, number 4. What is 54 subtract 7? Okay, so let's use our column subtraction. Let's start with the ones. 4 subtract 7. Oh, we've got a problem here. So what do we need to do? Yes, we need to exchange. So we cross out one of our 10s and take it away from the 10s. And then what do we do with that 10 that we've taken away from the 10s? Yes, we exchange it to the ones. So our 4 turns into 14. So we've got 14 subtract 7, which is, yes, 7. And 4 subtract, 7 doesn't have any 10s, so we're subtracting 0 10s. So 4 subtract 0 is 4 because we haven't taken anything away from it. So 54 subtract 7 equals 47. Well done if you got that right. Now let's move on to today's learning. So here we have 15 conkers, okay? Can you see the 15 conkers? Now we have 2 methods that we could use here. We could use grouping or we could use sharing, but let's see what the question asks us. The conkers are shared into 5 equal groups. So let's pick out the key words in this sentence. Well, it says the conkers are shared. So therefore, we know that we need to share the conkers. We need to use the method of sharing, not grouping. And it tells us we need to share them into 5 equal groups. Now, if it didn't have the word shared there, we'd know from looking at 5 equal groups that we would need to share, because remember, with sharing, you know how many objects you have and you know how many groups you need to have, and you need to work out how many will be in each group after you've shared. So our keywords are shared and 5 equal groups. So look, can you see I've got my 5 equal groups underneath? I'm going to share the conkers out one by one into each group. Are you ready? There we go. So we have 1 conker in each group, but we've got some conkers left to share. So let's keep going. There we go. So we've got 2 in each group, but again, we've got some more conkers left. So let's keep going again. And there you go. We have no conkers left. So now we need to find out how many are in each group, because remember, our 5 groups needed to be equal. Let's check that they're equal. So the first group has 3. And because they're equal, there should be 3 in each group, but let's just check. Well, the second has 3, the third has 3, the fourth has 3, and the fifth has 3. So therefore, we have shared our 15 conkers equally between 5 groups, because there are 3 in each group. And we can write this as a division number sentence. 15 divided by 5 equals 3, because we started with 15 conkers and we divided them, we shared them into the 5 groups, and we have 3 in each group, so it equals 3. Okay, now I'd like you to have a look at this question. There are 10 cubes here, and it says the cubes are shared into 5 equal groups. So again, can you see it's the keywords are shared and into 5 equal groups. So we need to share these 10 cubes into 5 equal groups. Now, if you have some pasta or some sweets or any other objects, 10 of them, could you go and get them now? And I would like you to draw 5 groups on a piece of paper and then try and share out the objects into these 5 groups. And then when you've shared them out, how many have you got in each group? Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, year 2, did you share out your 10 objects into 5 groups, and were the groups equal? Fantastic. Let's see how I get on with this question. I'm sure you did a brilliant job. Okay, so I'm sharing out my cubes. Oh, there you go. Each of my groups has 1 cube in. Let's keep sharing though, because we've got some more cubes, haven't we? Oh, there we go. Now I've used all of my cubes. Now, how many cubes have I got in each group? Well, I've got 2 in the first group, but if they're equal, there should be 2 in each group. So let's keep checking. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, and 2 in the fifth. There we go. So I can share my 10 cubes equally between 5 groups, because I've got 2 cubes in each group. And I can write the division number sentence 10 divided by 5 equals 2, because I have 10 objects and I've divided them, I've shared them into 5 groups, and it equals 2 because there are 2 cubes in each of my groups. Now we're going to look at the same questions again, but this time we're going to have to use another method. So here are my 15 conkers again. Now let's read the question this time. It says the conkers are grouped into 5s. Okay, what are the key words in my question here? Yes, you're right. The conkers are grouped. So there's my keyword, grouped, and that means I have to use grouping and not sharing this time. And it says into 5s. So into 5s, okay? So that's another keyword, 5s. And that tells me that I need to group these conkers into 5. So each group needs to have 5 conkers in it. And I need to work out how many conkers, how many groups of conkers I will have. So let's have a look. Well, I've got 1 group. I've got 2 groups. So let's check, have I got 5 conkers in each of these groups? Yes, both of my groups so far have 5 conkers in. And my third group, there we go. So I've got 5 conkers in the first group, 5 conkers in the second group, and 5 conkers in the third group. Okay, so I've got my 15 conkers at the top, and this is what it looks like when I put them into groups of 5. And how many groups do I have? Yes, I have 3 groups. So I can write the division number sentence 15 divided by 5 equals 3, because I started with 15 conkers and I put them into groups of 5. Can you see my groups of 5? Each one has 5 in. They're all equal. And it equals 3 because I've made 3 groups by grouping these conkers. Fantastic. Now let's try one yourselves. So here are 10 cubes. Here's this question again with the cubes. And the cubes are grouped into 5s. Okay, so if you have some objects, the 10 objects that you used in the last question, we need to group these objects, because look, a key word in our sentence is the cubes are grouped. And what do we need to put them into? Groups of what? Well, yes, look, there's another key question and a key word in our question, into groups of 5s. Okay, so 5s. All of the cubes need to be grouped into groups of 5s. So could you use your 10 objects, whatever they are, 10 pieces of pasta, 10 sweets, and try and put them, separate them into groups of 5? How many groups will you have when you're finished? Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Okay, Yetu, how did you get on with grouping your 10 cubes? Shall we see how I got on? So there's my first group of 5. Can you see? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in that group. And that's what it asked for, grouped into 5. So there you go, I've done that right. Can I make another group? Ah, yes, look, I've made another group of 5. And again, it has 5 cubes in. So both of my groups have 5 cubes. So how many groups have I made? Yes, that's right. We made 2 groups of 5. So again, you can write the division number sentence 10 divided by 5 equals 2, because you started with 10 cubes, you put them into groups of 5, and you ended up with 2 groups. So there you go. We've looked at the same question twice, but we've used sharing in one and grouping in the other. Okay, so you are going to be having a go at some questions on your worksheet now. Now, this is the first question. It says, here are some counters. Draw circles around groups of 5. Okay, so there, our keyword is groups of 5. So for this question, are you going to need to group or are you going to need to share? You need to think about that, okay? But always underline the keywords in your sentences. So now, could you pause the video and have a go at questions 1 and 2 on the worksheet, Year 2 Maths, 28th of January, Resource 1. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Okay, Year 2, so let's carry on with today's lesson. Well, here we have an array, okay? And we would like to complete the calculations. Now, remember, an array has columns and it also has rows. So columns go down and the rows go across. So what multiplication number sentence could I write for this array? Well, I have got 5 in each column. Can you see that? Each column has 5 counters in. So therefore, my first number will need to be how many columns there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 columns. So 6 multiplied by 5. Now, shall we count up together in steps of 5 6 times? Are you ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Stop. We have counted 6 steps of 5. And what did we get to? Yes, we got to 30. So there you go. 6 multiplied by 5 equals 30. Now we can use the same array to create a division number sentence. Now remember, with a division number sentence, we always start with the whole. So how many counters are there altogether in this array? Well, we worked that out when we did our multiplication. So there are 30 counters altogether, and they're being divided by 5, okay? So let's think. How many rows have we got? Yes, that's right, we've got 5 rows. So there we go. We can do our 30 divided by 5 by seeing how many rows we've got and counting how many counters are in each row. So how many counters are in each row? Yes, that's right. There are 6 in each row. So there you go. Can you see how we've used the same numbers for our multiplication and for our division? We've done 6 multiplied by 5 equals 30 and 30 divided by 5 equals 6.